Hey boys, Callsign Grimey here. This app may be old to some, but I'm sure it's new to many others like it is for me. The great thing about the DCS community is that we're always looking for ways to enhance that flight experience. In my last video, I shared how I got bored with DCS and the multiplayer experiences, so I figured I'd get back into solo missions. But the issue I had then was I don't have time or patience to make missions in the mission editor. I was then thinking maybe I should hire a mission maker to collab with for videos, and I still might even do that after. But then, like perfect timing, I stumbled on the Briefing Room app. This is a game changer for me personally. So let me show you what it is and how it works. So here we are in Briefing Room. Now, the great thing about this is that there's really two ways you can run this, at least that I'm aware of. First, you have the app where you can download and install into your computer, or what I really enjoy is they made a web version of this, and it is so intuitive. It is really, really exciting, and I'm going to walk you through this. First things first, I got to point it out, is that they have dark, and then click here in the top right corner, they have light mode. Oh my God, it's so bright. Let's go back into dark mode. Little things like that stand out and are great to me. But here we are. On the left side, you have a couple different options here. We're going to start off with Quick Generator. Now, if you just want to create something to get in and fly it, you're limited on time, you just want this thing to kind of come up with something for you, and you give it some minimal parameters, it'll cook something up for you. And that's what we're going to demonstrate in this first part right here. So we're going to start here. Coalition USA in most cases, or pick the one that you want to represent. You have all the options here. You're gonna have your red coalition, pretty self-explanatory. Now you get to choose the time period, and that's going to impact the loadouts and some of the aircraft that are going to be utilized in that time period to reflect and be true to that time period. So if you want to fly modern, you can go modern, 2010s, 2000s, or so on. You go into the 70s, 50s, 40s. You get the idea here. So pick your time period. I'm just going to leave it into 2000s right now. And then you're going to do your player side. So pick whether you're going to be blue 4 or red 4. Then your theater. Great thing about this is, you know, depending on what maps you have, you can create the mission for any one of these maps. So you can utilize the new Afghanistan one, and I think for this demonstration we'll do that. We'll pick Afghanistan. Now here for the situation, this is kind of tied into the theater that you pick. All right, so now that we have Afghanistan here, we're gonna go to situation, it'll say random, but there's not many kind of situations tied to Afghanistan. Now, for example, or to compare that to Caucasus, if you go to the drop down, now you'll see that there's a lot more situations that were really actual events that took place within this theater. So you can do the Beslan Rebellion or Peacetime National Control. You get the idea here. So depending on whatever map you pick, it's going to give you situations that actually occurred in that time in that theater here. If you go to Persian Gulf, you got Desert Storm. So if you want to relive Desert Storm, you could do all that. We're going to go back to Afghanistan just again for our purposes here. Home air base, you can randomize this. Again, you can be specific, but if we're talking about just making a quick mission for you to get in and fly, leave it at random. Leave the home base at random. Now let's get to the player flight groups. This is what's going to be related to you. First, you're going to pick your aircraft. So you go down the list. Every aircraft's in here. I'm just going to quickly select the F-18. Boom. Count here, if you're flying solo, if you're making this for yourself, drop that to 1. If you're going to fly with a buddy in a private server or whatever, then put 2. You get the idea here. Then you're going to pick where you're going to start at. You're going to be on an air base. Are you going to be on a ship? You get the idea here. FARPs and all that. Everything's pretty much in here. And so you'll pick this. Now, keep in mind that we are in Afghanistan. If I were to pick, I wanted to launch off George Washington, it's not going to work because Afghanistan map is completely landlocked. So, you know, keep that in mind when you go to select whatever map. And, you know, if you have your heart set on using a super carrier when you're in landlocked region, it's not going to work. So you have to launch from an air base. So leave it at air base. If you're in the Persian Gulf, this would be more conducive to the super carriers and all of that. Payload auto. What this means is, and this takes into account the time period and whatever the mission sets up for. So again, if you want the generator here, the briefing room, to set this all up for you, leave it at auto. However, if you want to do something specific, you can pick a loadout that you want. Okay, so you've got variations here. Leave it at auto. And the great thing, what I've noticed about leaving it at auto, is that it's going to equip armaments that you may not normally use, and it's going to make it a challenge for you to learn those systems. For me, cluster bombs, I rarely use them, and in quite a few of the missions I've been running, I've had to use the cluster bombs, and I've had to figure them out again because I forgot how to use them for such a long time. So it's pretty cool. Livery, auto, you can set this up again. Got plenty of options here to reflect whatever, country or squadron you want to represent. You can leave an auto. And then here we have AI Wingman. You can click it on blue and that will select and add a wingman for your flight. And you can click it off if you don't want a wingman. Next, you have dynamic spawning here. This pretty much, as it says here, only works on multiplayer servers. I haven't touched this at all, so I wouldn't bother with this. If you are doing this as a solo mission, you can skip ahead. Dynamic cargo, I'll leave this alone. I haven't touched it or played with it too much. I think that if you were going to toy around with this, it gives you a couple different options here. I quite honestly haven't utilized this enough to know. So if you do know how to utilize this, please share that down below for all of us. Much appreciated. Now let's get to the objectives. This is the fun stuff here. First part here is we're going to have objective distance. You know how many times we've all gone into multiplayer servers and, for wherever you launch from until the objective is like 200 miles away and you're flying for like an hour. Hey, don't get me wrong. For those that are super hardcore, want the hyper realism, that's great. But for others like myself that are, like to play within a reasonable amount of time and get stuff done, it's a little excessive for what I'm trying to do. So you can adjust your min max on your distances here so that you get that sweet spot for however long you want to fly until you reach your objective. Tinker around with this. If you're in like a helo, I would drop this down maybe to like 30 or something like that, maybe 25, and then max it out somewhere in that range. If you're in the fast movers and the jets, you could bump this up a little bit more. So you get the idea here. That's how that is utilized with the min max for your objective. Within that, you have the objective separation relocation parameters here. So it's possible that it generates a mission where you have to go to a point like A and then go to point B, and this is what's going to allow you to have that separation from those 2 points, and you can set that up to be as close or as far as you may want, as you want it. So that both of these are going to give you those kind of parameters for how long you're going to be flying around and where to. So you can have fun toying around with that. Right below it though is objective. This is the fun stuff. Now, this one here has interdiction. You can drop down and you have a wide selection of various kinds of objectives. If you want to do an air-based strike, anti-ship strike, close air support, cap, search and rescue. So those that are in helis, especially with the new helis that are out, you can do missions that are specified for those aircraft as well. There's a whole list of stuff here that's great. Deep strikes. You can utilize a JTAC, deliver packages, deliver terms, helo hunt, interceptions, interdictions. I mean, there's a lot. And of course, the one that I like the most is randomize it. I don't want to know. Just you pick something for me. Target count. This is going to be essentially how many of enemies are going to be there for you to, have to neutralize or whatever the mission may be. It's just, this allows you to select if there's a low amount, very low, average, high, very high. So that, just think of that as like how many targets and such would you have to deal with at that kind of objective. So I just leave it at average. I found that to be just fine. But if you're super hardcore, you can go very high. And if you want a more chill experience, go very low. Especially if you're just learning, I would go low, very low, just to kind of get your feet wet and get your confidence up in the aircraft that you're working with. Now, you can also hit the plus button here, and you can, again, add some more options here. You can add a secondary objective. I mean, you can really go crazy on this thing so that there's quite a few things you need to do, that require you to RTB, rearm, refuel, get back out, or possibly do some mid-air refueling to go to the next spot. So again, you can add as many objectives as you want here and randomize it, or be very specific in what you want to do with this section. And this is where I spend the most of my time in here to, whatever kind of mood I'm in, I want to go ahead and, do. So we have that's objectives. That's going to be an important part of this. Next, this is kind of like the added bells and whistles aspect of this all, which is the mission features. Now, Essentially what you're going to do here, and some of these are already kind of highlighted, they're kind of pre-formatted like this, you know, like the AWACS and the tanker basket, tanker boom. Those are going to be always kind of on in the briefing room generator here. But let's look at the enemy. Now you can select various kind of assets that they can have to make the mission more interesting, challenging, dangerous. So like we have AA bases, anti-air, so they're going to have your SAM sights on these bases. You can also include ambient AAA for that effect, fire effect, ambient artillery here. And when you hover over these, it gives you a little pop-up that tells you what it is. So for this one with ambient AAA, adds a few enemy AAA near the front line, roughly halfway between the initial airbase and objectives, that will ambiently fire when you get near. So that's cool. It just gives you more immersion. I think that's super intuitive and fun. Same thing with the artillery, excuse me. You also have the AWACS. You can give the enemy some AWACS coverage there to inform their bombers. You can select bombers, CAS, ground, helicopters, offshore structures, siege, ships, structures, tankers, all for the enemy. And you get most of those options for the friendly side of it as well. Plus you do have some more. So some of the other ones you'll have here are going to be important, which I put on myself. I'm always going to have CAS, SEED. I always have TACAN on the air bases and the FOBs on. And did I have everything else? We might also have here ground. This is kind of interesting. You just add some friendly vehicles near the front line. It kind of battles with the AI enemy front line. Just more of an effect thing. It's kind of cool. You can add friendly helicopters for some CAS support as well. Next, we got scripts, and this one you can kind of play with whatever, but what I tend to do is I'll put active ground units here so they can attack each other. It gives just that more immersion. I'll click on HOTAS for the bases. I haven't used CSAR or the CTLD stuff just yet because I haven't really flown in support missions, but for those of you that are really big into the transport helos, you've got those scripts that they'll inject right into it and make your life a whole lot easier, which is really cool. We'll also do Skynet on both of these here for IADS and Command Center. I'll click those on. As far as improvements go, you have two more options here, which I haven't really toyed with, but you can hover over them and see if that's something you might want to do. Now, direct support. This is going to be a bit different from when you select your friendly. Your friendly selection here for CAS, SEED, and all that, they just interject them, and they're kind of like NPCs. Think of them as NPCs. They're just going to kind of go around and do stuff. It just adds to the environment. Now, what you really want to select here for your direct support, this is what's going to allow you to get support directly through the F10 menu in the mission. You'll be able to call in CAP. You'll be able to call in CAS or SEED. This is very important because I learned the hard way when I went into a mission. I didn't select these. I didn't have them for utilization. I couldn't get into a target location because of the SAM sites, and I wasn't equipped with harms or anything, so I was getting blown out of the sky. So it took me a while to realize that you got to use the direct support options here. For this one, every time I'm putting CAP, CAS, and SEED on here at minimum. So that gives you the chance to call in depending on what the mission is. If you have SAM sites, you can call in for that support. And I'll show you here in the video, once we get through this on the generation side, how to actually call in that support while you're in the mission. It's really cool and intuitive. Next, you have some context kind of parameters here. So you have the Cold War, ground start aircraft, scramble start, training missions. So again, hover over it. It'll tell you everything you need to know about it. For example, training mission means enemy will never return fire. So this is a great option for those of you that want a mission but want to practice in the aircraft in real scenarios. They'll never fire back, so you can just get your repetitions in and do that. System here, I don't toy around with this to debug extra waypoints. I leave it alone. And then you have scenery here at the bottom. These are things like fire in home areas. So adds multiple fires in your home area. You can use this. I'm sure it's going to use up resources. So this may be something that is, while it's cool, may not be practical from a performance standpoint. I haven't tested it myself. I'm just kind of assuming there. But you know, if you want to add more stuff to the mission, for again, the immersion effect, you have more options down here to select. Now, once you've gone through everything like we have, we pretty much are ready to go. So this generator here it's really going to randomize everything. So let's go ahead and generate. We're going to go back to the top, click on generate right here. And now we're going to get the little rotation thing here. And it doesn't take very long here for it to cook up a mission. And what's really great, there it is, not fast at all, or not long at all rather. So now we get a little pop out, this little map here, and it shows us exactly what we're doing here. It's really, really cool and intuitive. Again, we can also click the SAM sites. So we know there's SAM sites here. We can click on ground forces. We can zoom in and we kind of get a view of like what's going to be going on here. We'll see where we're taking off from. We'll see where our friendly and enemy forces are colliding at right here. And then we even have a mark point over here of where our target is, and we're heading over in this area here, enemy, behind enemy lines. We scroll down a little bit here. We've got everything set up for us. This is Operation High Sweep, single player mission. It gives us the date, the time, the theater, situation, the weather, light scattered clouds, wind, light breeze. And then we have the description here. It says command has decided to destroy a crucial enemy production facility to ruin the enemy's exports. You will launch a strike to eliminate this facility immediately. Now we have some tabs up here. We'll take a look at this real quick. We'll hit over to task, click on this, and it gives us a quick little rundown of what's going on here, right? Destroy our production structures, designated objectives, check. Also remarks, seed is available, marker code seed. Remember, this is only possible because we check mark down here under direct support, seed, cap, CAS. And now the remarks reflects that. We have seed available for support. We have CAS available, awaiting coordinates for the target, marker code CAS. These marker codes are important, as I'll demonstrate once we get into the mission here. CAP is also available. They also say here in the remarks, we've located the enemy M92 HESCO Watchtower 3 being used as a SAM command center. SAM sites are on both sides, are using integrated air defenses. It also says they add Moose ATIS for home airbase on 227, and it tells you the TACAN for the airbase boast, which is going to be 28X. That's where we're going to be taking off on this particular mission. If we go to the next tab over, airbases and JTAC, gives you just pertinent information for the mission here. So the airbase information, the TACAN. Also, we have a JTAC on this mission, which is pretty cool. And we have the laser code that we're going to need for this, which is 1688, pretty standard for DCS. We'll also take a tab over to flight groups, and these are going to be all the aircraft. They're going to be friendly aircraft out on this mission. So obviously ourselves, Chevy, we're going to have Magic. We're going to have the S3B tanker out there, KC-135. You'll also see here, we've got the aircraft that are going to be providing CAS. We've got three aircraft here. We've got one AVAB, F-16s, and we got 4 F-18s as part of the CAS group. We've got a couple different aircraft here for seed. We got a couple of F-16s. We've got 4 F-16s. We've got 1 FA-18. Let's see what else. We've got some CAP aircraft in here. We got 4 FA-18s and 4 A-10As. And then we're going to have some more seed with 2 AVABs, Harriers. So it gives you a complete rundown. We'll take a look here at Chevy 8 flight plan here. And this is essentially the waypoints for our trip. It's a straight shot from takeoff to target location and straight back. So it's pretty straightforward. Now, once we reviewed all this and ready to go, we're going to hit the button right here, mission download. So we're going to hit that. And once we do that, it's going to then do the little pop-up again, and it's going to quickly start downloading the mission. Okay, once it's ready to go, it's going to have a pop-up window here, and it's going to ask you where to put the MIS file. So we're just going to put it in our download folder for the download here. You'll see it's coded as Afghanistan Operation High Sweep. Okay, at this point, you should know how to upload and open missions in DCS. So we're going to jump straight into the mission itself, and let's pick up there. Okay, we're in DCS here. We loaded up the mission, and what's really cool is that this is a really complete mission. Here's the briefing. It generates everything. I mean, everything that we saw in the generator as far as those tabs, the breakdowns, it's all right here in the briefing report. So really, really cool. It's just kind of blows my mind now how intuitive this thing is. So let's jump in here. Okay, so now that we're in the mission itself, let me walk you through a couple of more things that you need to know about. First is that if you need to refer to anything, you can pull it up just like you would your kneeboard, and it's going to have the information here. This is an additional thing that I've added in my kneeboard here, but you'll see here that it has your flight plan. You'll see here that it has your flight groups. We also have the airbase and the JTAC information, our tasks and the remarks. Now let me walk you through how you'll get support for seed, cap, CAS, and all of that. First, what we need to do is go to the F10 menu. Once we're in here, one thing that I wish I haven't figured out just yet, how to hide enemy units, but at least right now it shows it all. So it is what it is. Now you can take a look here and see where there are going to be, anti-air units and all of that stuff. So if I wanted to say, for instance, get some seed back here on the back line, which is probably where the biggest threat's going to be, we're going to go to the mark label option, and we're going to go anywhere in this area. I'm just going to go ahead and click like maybe out in front of it over here. New call sign. What I'm going to do here is going to type in here. I'm going to type seed, SEAD, and then we're going to click off of it and then listen.
Copy. Coordinates updated.
That right there notifies you that you've given the seed component the coordinates of where you want them to go when or if you call them in for support. They're going to go to this area. At least that's how it's supposed to be. Now, for example, let's say you needed some cap. There might be some enemies looming around somewhere. We're going to go back to the mark label. We're going to get another one, and we're just going to drop this, like, let's say over here. Maybe we'll get some enemies from the north over here coming down, right? So let's just call some cap here. We're going to CAP.
Copy. Coordinates updated.
Awesome. Cool. Lastly, we have access to CAS units. So let's go ahead and just click the mark label again, and let's just put them right up here in front, for example, and we're going to type in CAS, CAS. We'll click off.
Copy. Coordinates updated.
So at this point, we've now locked in coordinates for each of these 3 units to fly into for support. All right. So that's one of the first things you're probably going to want to do while you're before you take off. Now that we're back in the jet, we're going to pull up our comms menu here, and we're going to go ahead and select the F10 menu. In the F10, this is what's going to give you access to mission information as well as calling in for the support assets as well. So, for example, F1 is mission. We'll click that. We get a mission status.
Command. Require update on mission status. Mission is still in progress.
So it says here, destroyed all production structures, designated objective check, 0 for 3. So we know we have 3 structures to destroy. We'll go back in here. Again, you can utilize the Skynet IDS coalition information if you wanted to. I don't really mess with it too much. We'll click on F4 for objective check. Here, as we're approaching the target location, we can call in for we get the target coordinates. We can also call in for the target designation with the laser from the JTAC. We can also call in for marking it with smoke. And then we can also request waypoint coordinates over there. So as we approach that area, we have access to a couple of different things. If we have the JTAC, we're going to obviously go ahead and designate the laser for that. When it comes to calling in for support for seed, cap, CAS, we're going to go back to F1 for mission, which is highlighted. And right below it, we'll see here, begin cap on provided coordinates, begin CAS on provided coordinates, begin seed on provided coordinates. Let's go ahead and select F4. We're going to need them to go in first to clear the air for us to fly in. So we'll hit F4.
Command. Requesting seed support. Affirmed. Seed support is on its way.
All right, there we go. Now at this point, we take a look at the map where we are at. There they go. We've got 2 AVABs out, and it even shows you their waypoints. You see they're going to come in here, orbit, egress, and they're going to seed from this area. Even though we selected for them to come over here, they kind of have their own route, which is fine. Those 2 aircraft will begin doing some seed work for us, which is great. We send them in ahead of us, and then they go. Same thing if you wanted to send out some friendly cap out there, we'll hit cap.
7 command. Requesting cap support.
130 at 35,000.
Cap support is on its way.
All right, we got a little over talk there. Oh, they called in cap.
Pushing from waypoint 0 at 35,000.
So we'll take a look here, and there they go right there. These are our F-18s that are going to provide cap, and you see here they have their own waypoints. They're going to go to that back line back there for their cap support. We'll take a look at the aircraft. There they go. So they're going to do their thing. I'll do a separate video on the full generator because it's a little more intensive, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this breakdown on Briefing Room and how you can enhance your solo flights in DCS. Let me know what you think about it down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Callsign Grimey out.